everyone, this is Anna Carter from Rose River Way Studio, and I'm here for this week's 5-minute watercolor tutorial. Now this week I thought it'd be kind of fun to do a landscape, so we're going to do a mountain range with kind of a dusky night sky at the top, and we'll see how much we can get done in 5 minutes. So here we go. I've got just a small piece of paper. This is like half of a traditional watercolor sheet. I'm going to start with a number 5 watercolor brush, round brush. Always like using round brushes, almost always, for watercolor. So I'm going to start with my brush wet. Always start with a wet brush. And I'm going to begin with the sky. So for any kind of landscape, especially when you're doing a sky, you want usually to use a lot of water and just a little bit of pigment. So I'm going to start with some blue, and I like to say dip, mix, dip. So I dip in the water, I get some blue mixed up on my palette. My paints are dry right now, so it takes a little bit to mix it in, and then I keep going back for water. I go back and forth until I get a really nice and juicy paint. Okay, now I want this to be pretty light, so I'm actually going to take off some of the paint from my brush and just get a lot of water. So if you want to, you can touch it on a little paper towel and see what color it is. So I'm going to make really broad strokes here at the top, and you can see they're pretty light. And I'm going to start at the top and pull my way downwards. And I'm not going all the way to the edges of the paper. You can if you want. I just tend to like the effect I get with sort of this triangle shape. And if your paper is buckling up on you like mine is, you can tape it down beforehand with like washi tape or painter's tape, but we're just going to deal with it for this round. So this is a little bit lighter than I want, so I went back and got some more blue, and I'm going to do some wet on wet painting. And this is a nice midnight blue, and I'm just pulling inside of the wet area. And I'll get a nice spreading effect there. Looking good. Okay, so now I want to change up my colors a little bit to get some more character to the sky. So I'm going to add some red to my blue and get a more purple tone. And I'm not changing the color dramatically, just in shades. Okay, so I'm using a lot of water again, and I'm going to start painting in these side areas that I was avoiding before. And I'm trying not to go too far down on my page because I am going to need to put in mountains, and without having time to layer like I would normally do, I need to remember where I want to put those mountains. So, and I'm blending together these two colors just basically with water. And I'm trying to get my darkest edge on the edge of the paper. This will give me sort of the effect of a cloud or something like that. Okay, now before I get too much farther, I think I actually should define the edges of my mountain a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to get some black on my paintbrush. I'm going to start just doing the top edges, which are rough and not perfectly aligned, of my mountain. And I'm avoiding touching the wet area I already have. And maybe this one starts down lower, and I won't even see the peak of that one. It's helpful to kind of pull down some of these edges, maybe add another one in here at the bottom, and it'll give me a three-dimensional look. Okay, so now I have a general outline of the top of my mountains. So I'm going to finish the other side of my sky. And I'm going to use something, probably the same purple I had before, but maybe I'll mix in a little bit of black so I have a slightly different color. And again, I have lots of water on my brush, and I'm not touching any of my mountains because I don't want that black paint to bleed in to this sky color. And to get this to blend, I just keep cleaning off my brush and going back for cleaner and cleaner water. And that will take out the pigment and help me just to blend and not to add more color. That will give me some good dimension. So now with my brush as clean as possible, I'm just going to pull down the edges of my colors here. And I'm not touching the black area of my mountains. And I'm just leaving a slight white line. If I were taking more time to do this, I would bring that all the way down. But I don't want it to bleed right now. So if you wait for this to dry, you can bring the rest of the sky all the way down to the mountain. Okay, now let's finish up our mountains. So I'm going to go again with just a clean brush, and I'm going to pull down from that top line I already created. And this will give you a gradient where the darkest edge will be the top and the lightest will be at the bottom. And I'm just kind of doing jagged strokes here. I'm not going to fill in the whole part at the bottom. This is an abstract style painting, nice and loose. So we get lots of water, lots of color bleeds. And if something looks like too distinct of an edge, like you're not getting enough gradient, just keep going back, clean your brush, go back, clean your brush again, go back. Okay, and then finally, you can add a little character if you want later by spritzing some white paint, just like flicking it onto your sky, and that will give you the stars. You can add some more detail in your mountains if you want to, but you probably will need to wait until that is dry. So you got a bonus couple minutes out of me here. I got a little bit too into it to keep it to 5 minutes, so please forgive me. But I do these 5-minute videos every week. I put a new one up every week, so if you are enjoying them just as a fun practice, please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Thanks a lot. Bye.